But let's start off with the Tottenham update. And we're going to start off talking about Chelsea's Trevor Chalobah. And Fabrizio Romano says that Tottenham approached Chelsea to ask for Trevor Chalobah on loan deal. No green light from Chelsea, difficult due to rival and formula of the deal. Complicated deal while Forest still trying to make a permanent deal happen for Chalobah, but no green light on the player's side. Matt Law says Chelsea aware of Tottenham sniffing around Chalobah, but not yet clear what the exact terms of any offer would be. Once they are, they will have a decision to make. Unclear whether or not Chalobah will consider it. I mean, there's a lot of things unclear over here. And Nazar Kinsella says Trevor Chalobah is still firmly expected to remain at Chelsea. No deals with Tottenham or anyone else close. And finally, Lyle Thomas says that Tottenham tentatively exploring a late deal for Trevor Chalobah from Chelsea. Not many deals done between the clubs, but new regime at Stamford Bridge these days. Let's see. Can you see this being any sort of possibility?
Well, from Chelsea's side and Chalobah's side, I do think he's kind of surplus to requirements because they've got so many centre-backs right now, Chelsea. And even when one got injured for Fana, very soon after they signed Disasi for big money. So if that doesn't tell Trevor Chalobah he's not really wanted at Chelsea, I don't know what does. But again, we've left it very, very late in the window, last few hours to try and make this deal happen.
Less than an hour.
Yeah, exactly. So whether we probably run out of time or whether even Chelsea want to deal with us at this late stage is probably unlikely. I would say I'd like to believe we can get this done. And I've still got my question marks on the player himself. I think he's a pretty good player. I've been fairly impressed with him when he's played for Chelsea. But from what I understand, he was kind of like a defensive mid who got converted into a centre-back in a back three under Tuchel, played on that right-sided centre-back role. And he was quite good there. But whether he could fit in like a back two as a centre-back is, I think, big question marks. He is, because of his time in midfield, I think he's quite a good ball-playing centre-back. But the big question mark for me is defensively, whether he's like can physically compete with some of the forwards in the Premier League without being bullied. I think he's like got good pace and stuff like that. Maybe Postecoglou could work with him. To be honest, I'm just so hungry for a centre-back. Like, yeah, bring him in. Why not?
I'll take anyone.
I'll take him. I'm starving. I am starving. Give me a centre-back. So would I take it? Would I be excited about it? Yes, because it's a last-minute deal. But like in terms of like, if you asked me at the beginning of the window, is he someone I would target? Probably not. I would be interested in bringing him in at this late stage because I don't want to go into the rest of the next 6 months at least with only Sanchez and Dyer as backup. And if you've got the offer of Trevor Chalobah to come in and a homegrown English centre back, I'll probably just roll the dice and say, yeah, well, I'll give it a go. But I wouldn't say he's like a centre back that perfectly. I think he probably fits Postecoglou's system, but whether he's a centre-back who's good enough for us, I think there's definitely question marks about that.
Yeah, how would you compare him to like Lloyd Kelly or someone like that?
How would I compare him to Lloyd Kelly? I think Lloyd Kelly's more of an actual centre-back than Chalobah. And I think he's played there all his career. And I think Chalobah's only really stood out in a back three. He's one of those defenders, I think he needs the cover near him.
Has he played in a back four? Have we seen him in a back four?
I haven't seen him. I think maybe he's played a few times for Chelsea, but hasn't really impressed there, which is why he's probably looking to leave. So I don't know. I'd probably rather roll the dice on Lloyd Kelly than Trevor Chalobah if given the offer. But Chalobah can play on the right side as well. Potentially could play on the left. So a bit of versatility. I just don't see him as an actual centre-back. So it's a bit of an odd one. But considering it's this late and we literally don't have any options, if we can get it done, I guess that would be a positive thing.
I think it would be a positive thing. I don't mind bringing in someone like that as a backup, just as like a lone stopgap till the end of the season, and then we can potentially, here we go again, next summer we'll fill that role. But I think he's better than Eric Dyer, probably better than Davinson Sanchez as well. So at 10:15 on deadline day, when the deadline shuts at 11, then, I mean, beggars can't really be choosers at the moment, can they? So I would take him in.
100%. Look, we've left it very, very late. It's going to be very unlikely that there's no sign of this deal being close or anything. So any kind of talk seems very, as people have said, tentative, lighthearted, very much like just seeing whether there's a deal to be done. So don't expect any fireworks, but you never know. You never know. We might get an update in the next 20 minutes or so saying this deal is on. And and given that he's in London, I'm sure medical and stuff won't be a problem to sort. It's whether the deal can be done between the clubs. And we know how Levy likes to posture and negotiate, and that usually takes time. Whether
take months.
Exactly. So
hours.
whether we can do that in such a short space of time, I think is probably very doubtful. I would say that the chance of this happening are probably like in the single-digit percentage.
Yeah, most probably. But another defender who is currently in London is Tosin Adarabioyo. Fabrizio Romano broke not long ago that Tosin Adarabioyo to Monaco, deal off, no agreement with Fulham. 90 Minute reporting that Tottenham still see signing Tosin Adarabioyo from Fulham as a potential centre-back option. So why not make a late push for Tosin Adarabioyo?
Well, we've just got an update from The Athletic saying Tosin will remain at Fulham.
Well, there you go.
So that deal is going to be off, it looks like. But I don't, if we're like serious, look, apparently we've been very interested in Tosin throughout the whole window.
Yeah.
I understand that the hold-up was maybe he wanted to go to Monaco and he wasn't so interested in coming to Spurs. But if we were really serious about Tosin coming to Spurs, surely we just try and agree a deal and put the money on the table and just make Tosin make a decision, because if he doesn't want to remain at Fulham, he's not going to sign a contract. Surely Fulham would be willing to do a deal with us for money, but and avoid him going out for free. Maybe Tosin would just rather go for free than sign for Spurs. Maybe that's the sticking point, but I've never really seen us being completely serious on Tosin this whole summer, to be honest, and like really target him to come through the door. So
have we been serious about anyone apart from the guys that we've actually got in?
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing we've just been waiting for outgoings, which has been the sticking point, and that's been a big source of frustration. But I would have liked Tosin. I think he's a good centre-back. He would have provided good cover, but this deal ain't happening, it seems.
If I'm a decision maker at Spurs, I'm going to Fulham right now, putting 15, 20 million on the table for Tosin Adarabioyo and see what happens.
Yeah, that's what we should be doing if we were serious about getting through the door, but it just seems as though we're not that interested.
It seems though we're just like pretty much just happy just to go in with Sanchez and Dyer as our backups, which is ridiculous, really.
Yeah, 100%.
Ridiculous.
They don't see it as the massive crisis that most fans see it as.
That it is.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, moving away from the centre-backs, let's talk about Hugo Lloris now, because obviously we know he's not in the plans for Ange Postecoglou. His contract could potentially be ripped up, but there has been some interest in him in the final hours of the window. Martin Hardy saying the Magpies, Newcastle, have offered a season-long loan deal to Hugo Lloris. Newcastle approach has come out of the blue, and there would be a no loan fee, but Lloris has so far turned down the switch to the northeast. Ali Gold says that Hugo Lloris isn't believed to be interested in the move to Newcastle after they made a move to bring him in. It would have been some sort of turn of events. His last game was that 6-1 game against Newcastle, and then he ended up going to join them, but that doesn't seem to be happening. However, Nazar Kinsella says there is some hope at Spurs that Hugo Lloris' hometown Nice could make a late move after releasing Kasper Schmeichel today. Spurs could also decide to cancel the final year of Lloris' contract, but with just under 2 hours of the window to go, that is very much considered a last resort. Matt Law says Nice have now offered a contract to Hugo Lloris, but it's not yet certain whether he will go there. And Sammy Mockbell says Nice are trying to sign Hugo Lloris from Tottenham, offer on the table, and Lloris is deciding.
Yeah, and I think this one makes sense. This one has made sense, to be honest, for a while. I remember right at the beginning of the window, we were talking about, will he go back to Nice, his old club? It makes sense for him to end his career there, and a club in France where he can, go back to his hometown. So I think it is a deal that should make sense. I'm not sure why Lloris wouldn't be sure about going to Nice. I think they're, at the moment, they're in a quite a good way as well, Nice, in terms of where they're at in the French league. They're doing quite well, if my memory serves me right. I think they had a decent season last season. So I think I think that would be a good move for him if we can get him out the door last minute. If we can get in, I'm not expecting any sort of fees or anything, but wages off the books, it'll be a good move for him instead of like retiring or going around finish ninth. Okay, well, still a mid-table French club. I don't see why. Look, he's not getting anything better. No one wants him. So why not get a decent move to a team like Nice where you can be number one? They've just cancelled Kasper Schmeichel's contract, so there's a space for him there. And surely they'll welcome him back with open arms, and maybe he can feel some love again, which he probably hasn't felt in a while. Yeah,
and obviously the fans will really take to him there with him being a Nice boy. And I think it's a great move for him, especially as they have cancelled Kasper Schmeichel's contract. It kind of like just everything kind of fits at the moment for that. So we'll see what happens. There's still under an hour to go. Let's talk about Davinson Sanchez now. Dan Kilpatrick says that Sanchez is expected to remain at Tottenham with interest from Rennes and PSV Eindhoven coming to absolutely nothing. So it looks as though another season for Davinson Sanchez.
Yeah, it's ridiculous because we had offers for him. We could have sold him to Rennes for it would have been a cheap fee, but beggars can't be choosers, and we needed the space to try and get a centre back. And it seems we would rather keep Sanchez rather than even though we could have got him out, rather than sign a new centre back. I think it's a ridiculous decision from Spurs. They've completely neglected this centre back position. I know they signed Van de Ven for good money, but to only have that and have Sanchez and Dyer as your primary backups when you know Romero could pick up an injury, Van de Ven could potentially pick up an injury at any moment, and then you're left with these players having an extended run in the team, and that's not a situation that should be happening, or that's fair on the manager who we know wants different options in those positions. As a fan base, these Dyer and Sanchez have just been stinking up the place for so long, and it's so frustrating that it's very much a possibility now that they're going to be getting more game time, and they're going to be, and hopefully not, but it's a good possibility they're going to be costing Spurs points with their defending, and that's a big frustration. But it is what it is. They're going to be part of the team now, and hopefully. Look, Sanchez has shown a bit of improvement since Ange's come in, albeit I thought he was terrible against Fulham. But in other games, he's shown a bit of improvement. If he can carry that on, maybe it won't be as bad as fans think. But I for one, would have just rather, even if it's for a cheap fee, would have rather than got rid, even for nothing, I would rather have got rid and just signed someone else. And that would have been the betterment for the squad and the team.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's frustrating. I mean, I'm much more frustrated about the Dyer situation than I am about the Sanchez situation. But I am frustrated about both of them, to be honest, because we've been talking about this. I mean, how long have we been talking about Dyer and Sanchez just sticking around here? We thought this was the summer finally that, it was going to come to an end. But again, we've gone over another transfer window where 40 minutes left of this transfer window. And still, Dyer and Sanchez are going to be here for another season. And now that leaves us in big trouble if we get an injury at centre-back.
And it's like
massive trouble.
And it's like they've just not made the big decisions, the right decisions, the hierarchy on these centre-back decisions. They've kind of left the decision up to the player when they should have been ruthless and just said, look, you're out, that's it. And whatever offers we get, and if it even meant cancelling contracts, maybe not necessarily Sanchez, but we had offers for Sanchez. But especially when it comes to Dyer, even if it means like cancelling a contract or something, you have to make the tough decisions so that we can move on as a football club. And at the moment, we're just stuck in this situation where we have defenders that aren't fit for purpose. We had our worst ever defensive record last season with 63 goals conceded. Now, I know that's probably going to improve with Ange this season, and we've already seen improvements if our first back four is starting. But at the moment, we're just an injury away from having those defenders playing a crucial part again, and it's just really frustrating. It should never have been this case, but here it is.
Yeah, and we got a scare against Fulham, didn't we, with Van de Ven hobbling off towards the end. And that should have sent alarm bells in the hierarchy's thinking towards urgently getting a centre-back in. Because just literally one more injury. How many injuries does little niggles does Romero pick up in a season? How many times does he get suspended? I mean, it's just inevitable it's going to happen, isn't it?
It is.
Just completely inevitable. But let's talk about Brennan Johnson now. His medical has been completed. And Fabrizio Romano says that Brennan Johnson has just signed his Tottenham contract. Announcement imminent, happening shortly. And Sammy Mockbell says that Brennan Johnson is a Tottenham player. An announcement will be later tonight. So hopefully it'll be live when the announcement does come. But at least there's some positive news within the shit.
Yeah, and look, I am happy about the Brennan Johnson deal. I know it's a big outlay, but I think it's a good player with high potential. I think he really will help out the forward line. I think he offers us that pace in the forward line that we are missing. It's like that one kind of route of attack which we don't really have right now in the forward line. So I am really happy with Brennan Johnson. I do think he can really provide a good option and makes the attack more unpredictable with the options that he does bring to the forward line. And I hope I hope the fan base welcome him with open arms, and I think he's going to be a really good young player for us. So I'm excited about this deal coming forward, and I welcome Brennan Johnson. I think he's going to be a real player for us.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that is your Tottenham update going into the final half an hour of the transfer window. I see a lot of people in the comments saying Gift Orban's going to Fulham. Is that any truth to that?
Haven't seen anything.
I'll be fuming if that happens.
If that
I'll tell
happens,
you
that would be.
I'll be absolutely fuming if that happens. But anyway, that is the Tottenham update.